Today in this video, we're going to be breaking down a seat of the Triumvirate 17. This was actually done today at the time of recording this video. By the time it's published, it'll probably be the day previous. It was a fairly decent US ranked run. We are running a fairly strong comp, but in this route or in this run, I want to talk about everything that my group did right and everything we did wrong and everything in between and really just nerd out about this dungeon. So I hope you guys enjoy the commentary. Right into it, we are going to be pulling the Subjugator to the right, walking into the first pack, getting a Keg Smash to get Shuffle active, and then slowly walking all the champions over. Now, unfortunately, I did take 2 stacks of the Bleed on pull. It shouldn't be that big of an issue. And then we're going to go into our Black Ox, we're going to Lust, and then we're going to go into our kind of like gambly Keg Breath spams because there are a lot of targets in this pull. Now, this pull is dangerous for 2 reasons. First, you have the Subjugators, applying that chains of subjugation to your entire party. Now, snare removals can get rid of that damage over time effect entirely, so you can choose to wait till both chains are on you to try to get that like double dipping value. If not, just send your snare removals as often as possible. So for the Brewmaster, I can Tiger's Lust myself or other people. Our Lock can use Demonic Circle. Our Shaman isn't running it, but he could Jetstream if he'd like to. Fearless causes Berserker Rage to also remove it. And then finally, I believe the Rogue is just like doing rotating between like Vanish, Cloak, and Meld. Anyways, you can see here too that I am kind of slowly walking from pack to pack. It's because of the champions. There's a lot of champions located in this room. There's basically at least 2 in every pull. I believe there are 2 in every pull that you do, or every pack, I would say. And so the problem with these is they tend to enrage, which makes them deal more damage. But what also happens is if you try to kite, they're going to charge you. So if you get further than 10 yards away from them, they'll charge. Now, I'm going to have a video that's either going to be published already or will be coming out that I'll have linked down below and on screen that goes over how this entire room works and the dangers that it can contain. So basically, don't kite. Trust in your healer, trust in your ability to heal, and trust in Stagger's ability to mitigate damage, especially at low health, between talents like Flow of Chi and talents like Zen State. Anyways, champions go down, and now we're going to our third and final pull. That pack we just did is the hardest pull in here because we don't have any cooldowns for it. We're super dry all the time. How I pull this is I kind of pull both packs to me instead of trying to run around with the champions because, again, like I said, running around with champions can often spell disaster. Every time these chains come out, most of us can remove only every other chain, and so we do want to make sure that we are spreading occasionally. If you're comfortable as a tank, feel free to Tiger's Lust another player who cannot remove it, or someone who notices that they are just like in trouble. You can use Tiger's Lust on other players, and honestly, the damage to you, unless you have a ton of champions or you don't have any cooldowns running, it's fine to send it on someone else. Anyways, now we are getting some of these, all the casters down, and now we are just left with the champions. Now, the boss is available to pull, but we're not going to do that quite yet. I think champions with boss can be a little sketchy if I'm not careful with my movement. Maybe in the future, I'm going to start becoming a little bit more aggressive about pulling champions onto the first boss, but we're going to start off by just pulling Famished Broken. Now, I put down the Ox statue because basically I don't want to wait or have to go chase them down. They are going to eventually get back to that statue, and when they do, they will come running to me. And so I'm not really too worried about it. Now, Chicken is going to go out to the side here a little bit. Or is that our Warlock? I think that was our Warlock, actually. Honestly, when you're playing with melee DPS, you kind of just want to keep that leap close. You don't want to have to be running out very, very far. So that would be my only kind of suggestion and tip to us in the future. Anyways, I'm going to start dragging this guy over to one of these Lisa's Voids. Now, we want to swap to it and start targeting it. I did commit a leg sweep there to make sure we can get some damage without it moving. And now that they're getting kind of close, what I'm going to end up doing is actually rolling through, trying to get the boss away. And I use Provoke to make sure. At least, no, maybe I didn't Provoke there. Now, what's nice about being a monk on this fight is that this suck-in can always be countered with Ring of Peace. You'll have Ring every single time. And so what happens is the mobs start getting sucked in, you drop a Ring on the boss, the ads just keep going into the ring, and you can cleave them down pretty evenly. The only issue with that strategy, if I happen to do it there, is that if DPS are in a weird spot when the knockback happens and they get knocked into the ad's direction right as the ad dies and leaves the pool, there's a high chance they could die. And that actually is what wiped us in a previous, we actually ran a 17 right before this where we wiped on the first boss. And that's what happened, is that our DPS killed the ad a little too slow and they got knocked into the pool. Anyways, ad's coming out again. I provoke the ad to try to get it to come a little bit closer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to commit the leg sweep here. And then our rogue is just gonna stand a little bit out to the side. So CL did a good job there, positioning properly, and then we're gonna have that other ad eventually come in. I'm gonna start bringing the boss a little bit closer to that ad, and then when the suck does happen, you're gonna see here, I'm gonna drop the Ring of Peace. Our melee are just able to cleave without having to swap off of the boss, and then we're gonna get knocked back again away from the pools, away from where that ad just died. And now we technically could tunnel if we have CC. Now our Warlock was not playing Banish. I don't know if the bug still exists. There was a bug on beta where if you banished a mob, banished one of the slimes, and then walked the boss over it, it would instantly get eaten, but it wouldn't do damage to anyone. But if you're a Warlock player and maybe that strategy works or you've tested it, let me know. Because if it does, it's insane tech. I figured they would have fixed that, but again, maybe it's just an intended design. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paralysis the far one. We're just not gonna hit it at all. We're gonna finish this close one, and now we can pretty much tunnel because by that time, yeah, the suck might happen, but the ad's not coming anywhere closer to us, and we're probably not getting another ad set. And even if we do, we're just gonna kite it out for a second. We always have Ring of Peace, and then we'll kill the boss. He's already like sub 10% or about 10%. And that's this fight. This fight is actually pretty chill if you swap to the ads or if your group's good about cleaving them down while also moving the boss. So it is kind of an everybody fight. Like everyone has to partake in this encounter because the tank sometimes or the boss sometimes isn't on the tank. He's leaping away to random players. So players need to realize like, oh hey, this is leaping at me. Maybe I'm too close to this ad. It's going to touch the ad or it's going to leap through the ad. That's a big one too. So anyways, boss goes down. We got a 6-minute split there. This is a pretty good pacing, I would say. We end up finishing this dungeon with a lot of time left. So we can probably time an 18 with this route as long as we can get through the bosses. All right, so here's the next poll. We go across, grab the pack of 4. It's 2 champions, two birds or whatever these are called, and then 2 shadow walkers. Champions don't do anything. The flyers don't really do much, but the Rift Stalkers apply a really nasty bleed, which can be dangerous with the Rift Warden's AoE that we're seeing now. And so the way to counter it is maybe try to stun, but if you have the bleed on you as the Rift Warden starting that channel, the best thing you can do is just slam a defensive. Now, this whole area is basically rotating between hard pull and easy pull. So this is the hard pull. The next pull will be pretty tame. The next pull after that will be pretty hard again, and then the next pull after that is going to be pretty tame. Actually then it's 2 back-to-back easy pulls, and then it's 2 back-to-back hard pulls, and then you go to boss. So maybe I can figure out a slightly different cadence, but I do really like this route in here, and it's been extremely fast for every group that I've run with. So I've been liking this route a lot. I'll have my rinks. I'll have my route links down below. So if you're interested in checking out these routes, I should have them in there. If I forget, I'm sorry, but I'll get around to getting them in there. I don't have much. I'll probably forget if I'm being honest. Anyways, Rift Wardens, like I said before, they do big AoE. Also, you cannot drag them more than like 20 yards away from their rift, or they'll start doing crazy AoE damage. And so I recommend staying close to the rift. And then, yeah, like I said, these like little bird flyer things, they're kind of just like fodder. I don't know what they do. If they do something, let me know. But I thought they used to cast a thing called Disrupting Screech, but I don't see that anymore. I thought it used to, like, interrupt casters. Anyways, doesn't really matter. All right, next one is going to be a little difficult. We're going to be setting focus to the Conjurer. We're going to be getting a kick here, and then we're going to be heading back into this other pack. And this is a Subjugator. So similar to the first boss room, we're going to be spreading and looking out for our snare removals on those Chains of Subjugation cast. So I don't have Tiger's Lust because I foolishly used it while running up to this pack. So I don't have the ability to remove it for myself, but I have Ox running, I have my Cow, and I have Fortifying Brew still in my back pocket, which I can't remember if I sent here or not, but this is the scarier pull. You wouldn't need Ford for a bit. Unfortunately, Chicken does go down there. That absorb was massive. He committed 2 healing waves and a lock rock, and he still couldn't get out of that absorb, which is just wild. Outside of the caster and the Chains of Subjugation, this pull is again pretty tame. It's a couple of champions and then 2 of those birds that are hitting you. So the priority here is to kill the Subjugator for obvious reasons, but champions dying quick as well is good, so your tank can actually move. I could try running technically, or walking a little bit faster, or maybe using Ox Statue to like speed provoke them as a group, but I'd rather play it safe than sorry in this run. So that was kind of my idea. I was like, well, we're gonna time this even if we're a little slow. So what I did there is I put down a Nox statue in that pack, and so it doesn't require me to run all the way over there and then like awkwardly crackling Jade. I can just drop the statue off the global and then get back to the Rift Warden. So these mobs come in a little bit late, these Famished Broken, but they're going to last a fair bit of the pull, giving us again more overall damage, basically a little bit of percent, but more importantly, that sweet juicy 1% damage on funnel for the Arms Warrior. So this poll is like crazy tame. If you die to this poll, you might just be you need some practice. Club Penguin might be your more your speed. One random side note, I really miss being able to track my group's offensive CDs. Like I wish Blizzard added a way to track that stuff. I don't need to know everything. I don't need to know like all the defensives and the health pots and the potions and the racials and all that shit. But it would be nice to see like our rogue has adrenaline rush and our warrior has something else. Anyways, that was the strat there. I walked into the tentacle and used double roll to like dash forward a little bit further. Kind of fun, but definitely not worth. It does a little bit of damage. It won't kill you, and if it does kill you, I'm sorry. But it's kind of a fun little trick to impress your friends. If you walk kind of right next to that tentacle back there and get launched, it'll slam you. You can do it on your mount. You can roll midair and dash to get some extra speed. And yeah, but yeah, anyways, like I wish I could see just like the major cooldown of the class. I don't need to see everything. I just want to see that major thing so I know what to pull around. Because I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be playing with an outlaw rogue and an arms, which I feel like their damage is just like all the time. But I don't know when our lock has CDs. And I mean, not that I care to know if I'm being honest, but it'd be nice to see like, oh, our healer does have tide. So if shit goes wrong or it gets popped, I know, okay, maybe I don't need to use a defensive here. Anyways, this is now a pretty hard pull. We have not just the Rift Warden, but we also have a Rift Stalker applying a bleed, and we have a caster, and we have a War Adept. The War Adept knocks the tank around, so DPS, if you're ever wondering why your tank's moving so much, chance in this pull in particular, chances are it's because of the Warden knocking, or the War Adept knocking everyone around, or knocking the tank around, I should say. This pull, though, the idea is that you have two choices. You could technically target the War Adept or target the Rift Warden. I prioritize getting the Rift Warden down, but because this is the last Rift Warden, if and when it dies, the boss will spawn. So based on where you're positioned, don't be too close to the boss. That's a really good blind from CL there as well. Quick reaction on that to prevent. So when those guys poured out, all they're doing is they're healing. And so you want to interrupt that because if you let them just channel it, they're gonna like they won't full heal, but it's a lot. And you don't those guys are dangerous. They apply a pretty nasty bleed right now. It's on CL and then it's on Carrid. And it's just again, like I said, it's really dangerous. So this entire area is like a pretty tough chain. It's a good kick there. I got a para as well. Um, so it's definitely an area you need to practice caution in. Now this pull, I'm just like giving us a little bit of time to recover, just like catch your breath on defensives, healer, catch your breath on like mana, or at least like, just get your bearings. Cause again, like I said, that was a kind of crazy back-to-back pull. And honestly, we still have a Riftstalker up here, so we need this thing to die quickly. Actually, we have two up still. Okay, never mind. And then once this pack goes down, we'll be heading on to boss. And this boss is actually a lot of fun with the way that we do it. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be heading over and grabbing these Famished Broken. I normally put an Ox statue here, but this time I wanted to just grab all of them manually, which I think was a mistake. I should have just like put down an Ox statue, but anyways, we're now setting focus to Shadewing so we can kick whenever it's nearest without having to change targets if we decide not to target Shadewing, and we are just doing big AoE Zug. Now, I don't know why, but I soaked an orb here for fun. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if I was trying to get more staggered or just like clear an orb to be efficient for my group, to make some room to be able to like traverse or navigate through. But basically during this part, it's kind of annoying. You have to like spread out, which is a pretty bad for melee uptime. Now there is a way that the boss stands still during that cast, but the cat and the bird move like his pets. And so what you could do as a tank is you could position on one side of these orbs and then like dash to the other during the channel, and then it allows your melee to like actually have uptime on at least the boss, and then you can still have uptime on the two pets. I don't know if that made sense. I don't know if I'm gonna do it here at all, but sometimes I'll like go a little bit further so my melee can just keep hitting at least a target. So I might actually end up doing that here. Um, not so much. But you can see that the boss doesn't move during this phase dash, so I kind of like can move away and our arms warrior and our rogue could still hit it. Now, I didn't see that orb right away. I'm not gonna lie. It's behind my party frames right now. I saw it now. I'm gonna run over, get it. I saw that it started glowing, which I'm assuming was on the overload cast there. If that went off, we would have probably wiped right here. Now, I don't have to be the only one who soaks it. I mean, it's better to put it on the tank because the tank isn't getting targeted by like the leaps. But um if the tank didn't notice it, a DPS could or the healer could go and try to step on it. So this is like an awkward one as well. Like my mail, like I don't think CL is able to hit these guys at all, and so I need to do a better job at like spreading them out. But I just don't know how to communicate that because it's like in order to go far, like the rest of my group has to shift as well. So it's kind of just like a weird concept to think about. But anyways, this fight's pretty tame. The only scary part for DPS players specifically is when the overload, I believe, or the dash is happening with the leap from the cat. And so whenever there's an overlap, like let's say right now, like our warlock has the bleed, but he's about to do dash. I guess the bleed dropped there. But if there's ever like an overlap, that is very spooky. I don't remember when they are. Oh, right there. So that overload went off and then the cat pounced on CL. So he just got womboed completely, but it's really hard to predict that. So I wish that Blizzard would actually make some spell change, like spell queue changing here, because that just feels unfair, you know? Like getting hit with an unavoidable thing and getting RNG leapt on at the same exact time on a boss fight just seems odd. Like that should never be the case, in my opinion. But it is what it is. We got him up with the battle res, and now we're just vibing. So right here, you can see I kind of like move over, and the boss is now able to be hit by at least CL. The cat leapt as well. Of course, he's getting fucking targeted every time. Um, and so yeah. So I did on the last one, but I should be doing it, uh, earlier in the fight as well. All right, now we're heading to the back half of the dungeon. We are at 66.55% count, which will put us like pretty much exactly at 100. We're going to grab this Void Infused Destroyer. We're going to roll, dash, and then grab this Void Bender pack. Now, this pull is actually pretty scary. So if you need to, especially if you're in like a pre-made group and you're with your buddies or your friends or you're just your push group and you don't like any of the people you play with, but they're good, just ask them if they're ready, or mainly the healer, like, hey, you guys got defensives, you ready for this pull? If not, you can kind of slow roll one of the destroyers in. You can like just start with hitting the destroyer for like 10 seconds or whatever you need to, and then go in if no one has defensives from the last boss fight. The scariest thing in this pull, though, is going to be the Dire Voidbender. These guys do a thing called a Abyssal Enhancement. If that goes off, the best way to describe it is that their melee attacks start doing extra damage and it cleaves like a chain lightning effect. And so what ends up happening is your group will probably perish if that goes off. Now, I do think it's purgeable if I remember correctly, but you can't bank on your shaman remembering to take purge for a key, for example. So I recommend just making sure you can assign one melee kick to each. That's all you need. I personally mark X, or sorry, not X. I mark triangle, and my group, I think, knows that I kick triangle mainly. If not, I also comment out, hey, I have triangle. And then someone else will probably kick the other, hopefully. All right. That poll actually was about 10%, so now we're heading up into the next poll. This is a replica of the last poll we just did, -1 Stalker. I'm going to put down a knock statue and AoE provokes to make sure that these guys run down at the same time together and quickly. And then we're going to pull these two Void Benders, and I'm going to set focus to Triangle. Now, my goal here should be to try to stack these mobs up tightly. Right now, they're not super tight, especially because we're stunning them. The frontals are going off. We're spreading for the circles. Kind of a rough pull to get grouped, but we're going to get it all stacked here very quickly. So yeah, this pull pretty tame. When it comes to Seat of the Triumvirate, I actually really like this dungeon. It's probably one of my favorites so far this season, and I think that's going to continue being the case. I think all the boss fights are really fun. Like, yes, even the first boss, even Zeral. I just don't like the encounter space of the last boss. And I'll talk about that maybe at the end or maybe during the fight, but moving on to the next pack here. This pull is actually really scary. It's pretty explosive, as you can tell. Umbral boats are going off. The Void Walker's mailing your tank. You have the Gate of the Abyss going. You have the Void Infusion. Uh, so yeah, it's a scary pull. I believe we have someone go down here to Orb. I believe it's CL. He ends up getting hits and he dies because of it. So We actually did spend a little bit of time wasted here. We are discussing right now, do we res him? Does he run back where the release point is at? Can he make it back quickly? And then we ended up just committing the res anyways, so it ended up not being important. So um, try setting it a little quicker, I guess, is like my feedback for my own group, myself. I could have also resed him too. I could have just made the executive decision to soul link him, which is probably better than the warlock casting like a 4-second soul stone. So maybe that's why it was a little bit slow. So I resend my critique. But we're looking at the timer right now. We have 3 dots, yeah, but we have 13 minutes to do basically this trash pull, one more trash pull, and then 2 bosses, which is infinite time. So our idea was like, we're just gonna play it safe. We're just gonna pull 1 mob. Now, my previous commentaries that I've done, I've talked about or I've shown that we're running double warrior. Double warrior in this place is insane because you can just reflect like every single infusion. And so with the double warrior, we would pull those other shadow weavers in. But for now, again, like we're just kind of whittling the stuff down, prioing the Reaver so we can walk with the Void Benders. So killing this pack right here is what actually lets the boss spawn. Now, there is an option to clear these guys earlier and work your way around, and then you're able to go into boss right away, even though I don't think that boss RP in this dungeon is actually all that long. There's probably a few second time save you can do by doing that, but I don't really think it matters at the end of the day, because what I like about this pull is it's, yeah, the Void Infusion kind of sucks on a single player, but it's pretty tame compared to like that caster pull we did about 2 pulls ago. And so just something to kind of think about. You can clear it this way if you'd like. You can clear it doing this pack first instead. Or I'm sure some crazy groups will end up pulling trash onto boss in the future. So there's always that as an option as well. So yeah, we're just dodging these gates, and honestly, I kind of like it when Blizzard does this. Like the mobs before a boss have some of the boss's mechanics, so you can learn what they are early. I think these Shadow Weavers are a really good example of that. They spawn these rifts, and they do a single Void Infusion, where the boss is like an upgraded version where he does 3 rifts and 3 infusions. So I like this boss a lot. This is probably one of my favorite bosses of the season. It's kind of hectic. It's fast paced. There's ad cleave. There's kicks. There's, like, everything that I kinda like in a fight, and then there's a really cool, visually appealing intermission. So, anyways, jumping into it, dodge the rifts, do your best to position in kind of the alcove of where the trajectories are from the rifts or these abyssal gates. It's hard to move this boss sometimes, especially if he's summoning tentacles like he is now, or it's hard to move him, during the infusion. Anyways, we got a crazy lucky spawn there with them all spawning on top of the boss. Unfortunately, I tried to split the difference there, and I ended up getting hit by one of the orbs, so a little dangerous, especially with a potential cast going off. And then we're gonna have to head back and kill this last tentacle. So we were a little slow on this. I also don't have Touch of Death, but it ends up being a-okay. We actually run away quicker, and I end up throwing an exploding keg at the thing to kill it. So yeah, committed, doing it for the cause. So Collapsing Void, really cool intermission, does a ton of AoE damage. Honestly, it's kind of like the healer check at that point. So this whole fight feels like more or less a healer check and a movement check, because if you get clipped by an orb once or twice this fight, you're just dead. Easy as that. So luckily we play with gamers, and I don't think anyone else really gets hit. So we're good. I honestly was not playing all that well in this fight. I felt like I kept almost getting hit every single time. Normally I'm pretty good about positioning properly from the get-go, but I don't know, probably the edible I took. Yeah, probably that. Now I did see this 3 set of umbral tentacles right when they spawned, but I went to the closer single one to get it down quicker because we're definitely gonna be cleaving down the 3, and then we can always Touch of Death the last one. I believe I can Touch of Death every other ad set, so for whatever reason, if you ever get 4, great, or don't Touch of Death on the pull previously to this, and then you can touch 1 and 3. So here we are, second intermission. We're stacked up. Now, one thing I'm also starting to keep in mind now is my Apex talent can do a fair bit of healing on players. So if I ever cast Celestial Fusion and I want to spread my hot to specific players, I need to also pay attention to where I'm standing because it goes on the 2 closest targets. So if I am ever like, oh man, I really want my Warlock to get some healing here from me, I have to run out to my Warlock before I cast that empty barrel. But anyways, we're going to probably have one more ad set for sure, and then we'll tunnel it up. So yeah, this fight really just becomes rinse and repeat. You can stun the tentacles. Some other CCs work, but I don't know. I find that um, AoE stuns like leg sweep are the best way to do it. You could also meld, vanish, and do other things to the tentacles that are targeting you, where they'll target someone else. And we're gonna make our way around the room. This tentacle is nice and close. That's kind of why I went to it last, to the center. And so we're able to kind of stay close, cleave it down, and then get back onto the boss. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna fast forward a bit. The boss isn't too exciting, and then we're gonna get on our way. So I forgot to say this, but CL did end up dying. He died to, I believe, walking into an orb. So definitely be a wee bit careful. And then finally, we have some 4-star P with this door opening and then the boss spawning. So there's nothing really you can do about this outside of maybe potentially saving some trash later, or I guess earlier in the dungeon, and doing it later while you're waiting for this stuff to spawn. Now, I also don't know if you need to have a player in this room for this shell to go away. And so, you know, if you're going to try to backpull, make sure you're like sending a healer or a mobile DPS down here to at least start the RP before they head back to the trash pack. Is it worth it? I don't know. We're just doing it like this though. So we're gonna have about 6 minutes going into the boss. The boss does not move right away. So if you are a DPS who asks the tank to move the boss to the center of the room on the rip, they cannot. They have to wait like 4 seconds. As you can see here, I'm standing far away. The boss is just not moving. And then I run back into melee, and then I'm going to start backing up here. I like to try to position the boss right on the top of the stairs here. This is about center, so it's equidistance from most of the notes in the room. You can also pull him down the stairs. You can pull him off to one side. It's kind of however you want to. I don't think it really matters too much, but being centralized, I think, gives players a good scope of the room and understanding where the notes are located. Whenever you hit the first set of beams, the second set of beams will transfer to new locations. It's not contingent based on the slots that are empty. It can be any location in the room that is reserved for one of those spots. So there's 6 total spots. You can tell where they're going based on the circles on the floor, so keep that in mind. And here we are now just rotating around the disintegrate beam. Now the tank will always get the first or one of the beams on the second set. So I'm gonna end up committing to Moon here to letting our healer kind of find that last spots. What I tend to do is I try to put down world markers when I notice the new locations so players don't have to think as much. If you can get your DPS to think less and zug more, that is a win. So I do like markers a lot. I use markers on this fight, and I use markers in Pit of Sauron, which I'll have a commentary about soon because my group timed an 18 tonight as well. So that was a world 10th key. So I'll talk about that, yeah, in a future video. But anyways, here's the burn. Big damage. We did commit our third and final bloodlust of the dungeon. And yeah, we're now just going to be vibing. I believe I clear markers here, and if I don't, I'm trolling. There we go. Beam comes out, we rotate around, follow the beam, and then once these things break, I'll be putting down world markers again to mark for my group where to stand. First set of lines or first set of beams don't matter. You can hit any of the 6 notes. It's only the movement that matters here. Also, random side note, Tank Buster is based off of boss's buff. So keep an eye next to the nameplate. Once he hits 3 stacks, he'll eventually send out a large tank missile at you. So if you're dying to this fight, that's probably what it is. It's tracked on their buff frames, on the boss's buff frames. So just keep that in mind. I put down markers. There's one at the entrance of the room. There's one on the stage. Our healer told me to go to stage, so I did. I'm going to line this up, and we are going to disable that note. So here we go. We're going to our second burn. I think we don't do enough damage here where we end up having to do a third one, but we are looking pretty hot here. So 37% going into this burn when it starts. We get it, I believe, like close to 20%. And then we do one more burn later. So Ox is really weird to use on this fight. If you ever use it on pole, you're never going to have it for the burn. And so it's kind of that decision, like it lines up perfectly. Like it will always come up right after the burn ends. So basically the idea is either you're going to hold your cow early in this fight, which could mean you send it at the end of the last fight. And then the other option is just hold it on pole for a minute. And then you can use it on every single burn, which might help. But again, I figured I'm going to just do tank damage regardless of what I do. So I figured play it safe, do what I'm comfortable with doing, and call it a day. Here's the last beam that we're going to be dealing with. Our group is just plowing into Luara here. And the boss is going to be going down any minute. I don't have Touch of Death, so that's a little unlucky. But of course, we're still gamers, so we're gonna do this as if we still have a game to lose. But with about 2 minutes left on the clock, we're gonna deploy not a Touch of Death, but just an auto attack for the kill, and that's it. That is a big GG. So this got me to 3468. I timed a Pit of Sauron after this as 18. That got me up to 3500, so I'm very, very thrilled about that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave me those down below, or feel free to join my Discord where you can have discourse with me and other people who enjoy Mythic Plus and Brewmaster and all that fun stuff. So anyways, hope you guys are all staying happy, healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.